Exterior, midday, drone shot. The sunlight twinkles off the ever-snowy caps of a mountain range running north-south, and like a bird, our viewpoint dives through tiny cirrus clouds, pulling out just in time to skim along the peaks. Wildlife, icy rock formations, even the occasional hardy trees become a blur as we whip past, our speed increasing before suddenly, we're in freefall. Slowly, our focus tilts downwards. Beneath us, there's a massive opening, easily big enough for two full-size dragons to pass side by side as we plummet into the massive cavern beyond. We ride the sunbeam like a wave, passing through a complex geometric web of bridges. Bridges span the entire 10-mile diameter of this cavern, intersecting at intentional points where city blocks have formed, suspended 100 feet over the next closest web of bridges. 10 such tiers exist here in Geim, but as we reach the 5th, we pull out of our descent, racing away from the center of the cavern along one of the wide stone bridges, the green emerald inlays catching brilliantly in the light of the midday sun, that single sunbeam kind of casting down upon them, and we skim across hats and wagons and street vendor stalls, past small park-like green spaces and regal-looking office pendants. We see creatures clad in expensive suits and nobles' robes, rubbing elbows with denim-clad mine workers and leather-clad smiths here at the center of the city, both vertically and horizontally. As we approach the cavern walls at a more manageable pace, our vision lingers on a 3-story building sitting at a place of prominence on its pendant. The sign outside reads Grub Bugs, Clubs, and Mugs. Having been given time to acknowledge that this club is probably important, the camera and the viewpoint suddenly zoom through the door and we see a brightly lit dance floor with a bar spanning along one wall. We pass by a well-dressed man throwing down a few cards at a table as we dive down into the pit where another creature, hulking, stone-skinned, is engaged in combat, some kind of pit fight going on with people ringing the outside of the pit, placing bets before the camera zooms back outside of a back entrance. Now we stand on the bridge one more time, briefly pausing, taking in the moment, and then the camera steps over the side, and as the wind whips back through our viewpoint and things become a blur, we dive once more. We free fall deeper and deeper into Geim, entering now into the richer sections of the city-state. The deeper we get, the darker it is, but strategic mirrors have been built into the pillars that support all of those crisscrossing bridges, and so it creates a sort of pinstriped effect as it maneuvers the light around the city. At the bottom of the cavernous city, we get our first chance to take in the Clockwork tier. Now, if the Emerald tier of Geim is the mesh point between the working class and the nobles, the Clockwork tier is home to those creatures so prominent, so wealthy, or so important that they make the nobles look like paupers. We see soldiers in well-polished plate armor queuing quietly at a burrito stand, couriers in various important liveries winding their ways between the many pillars with purpose in their eyes, artisans sitting on the front steps of their workshops and studios taking a break from their creations. Midday is the only time of day that the main sunbeam reaches this low in the cavern, and the summer sun is warming a long line of petitioners waiting outside the palace of Salin, Queen of Geim, this imposing building, marble and stonework, very ornate, very well-decorated, huge fences outside that obviously have slats and slits inside so that even while you're waiting in line, you can see how opulent it is inside. We pass right over that line, our camera still disembodied from our own perspective. We jump over the top of the spiked fence and we enter into the audience hall of Salin, Queen of Geim, but she's not in there. The royal chamberlain's got the gates shut, the doors closed, and the big audience hall, wide chamber, marble floors, tapestries, an imposing throne, empty except for guards. We squeeze between two of those 4 burly palace guards, each clad in their masterwork armor and standing at a casual attention, and we take a turn down a winding staircase into the bowels beneath the palace, where we see a long stone table and a curiously colorful collection of creatures. A dark-skinned dwarven woman, despite being the shortest in the room, dominates the conversation. Her expression is serious, and her body language speaks of diplomatic frustration. Seated around the table are 10 warriors who, even at rest, carry the casually coiled posture of seasoned killers. Each bears a crest on his shoulder of a shield with a gemstone set into the center, but each gemstone is different. As the meeting closes and they file out, one warrior with a gold stone set into his crest remains. Though he stands at a taut, crisp attention, his displeasure is evident. His long white beard narrows to a point as sharp as the ceremonial spear currently strapped to his back, and his gold eyes are stony. He's tall for a dwarf, and he speaks tersely to the dark-skinned woman across the long table from him, but her eyes flash and he bows his head in apology, clenches his fist, and leaves. we see the same man striding purposefully out of the palace grounds, a shimmering golden cloak swirling around him, and a scroll case clipped to his belt that he keeps nervously reaching for and adjusting, making sure it's still there, before he melts away into the crowd and our camera pulls up to a wide shot of the city of Geim. But this isn't a story about him. In fact, so far it's not even a story at all. It's a premise and a promise, because just outside the city of Geim, midday sun be damned, there's a storm brewing. And you know what that means. It means it's story time at the Winged Badger Tavern, and we will be right back.
Woo!
The hell is this?
The world of Urda has regressed, Jasper. Whatever else happened 100 years ago, magic is wild now, and that's dangerous for everyone. If I send soldiers or even the Guardians, the world of Urda will see a conquest no matter what I say. But we can't control a mercenary company.
Okay, what are you proposing?
Am I supposed to look at the camera, look away? I don't understand these things.
If you're doing something wrong, I'm gonna find you.
And then he just pretends to fall over and goes, "Ow, I have been injured."
You hear him say "king me" as he throws down a full house on the tape. He looks pretty feeble, but one time someone saw a kid try and mess with him and he slapped him really hard with the cane.
So there's supposed to be what? Some kind of arcane janitorial squad? Who's gonna lead a team like this? No, don't look at me!
She says she's sick and tired of love, she just want war. I know they didn't think that we would make it this far. I know they didn't think that we would take it this far.
Welcome back to the Winged Badger Tavern, where friends tell stories. My name is Josh. I'll be your GM for the evening, and I'm joined by some of my friends. Why don't you introduce yourselves, friends? We can start on the top left.
Hello, I am Jake Redacted, and I am playing Willard Taffy, who is an exiled dirt speaker who throws with deadly accuracy.
Hello, I am Cleo. I am stunned by that intro. That was so well polished. And I'm playing Frode the Forsaken, a tongue-tied Hematetian explorer who fucked around and found out with the Fae.
Hello, I'm Mike, and I am playing Armis Thrupp, a Tier 1 sharp-eyed spider speaker who works the back alleys, who was also very much expecting to see some action shot of himself doing the cool little intro out of the shadows that I somehow just acquired through my dreams or something.
Hello, I am Trevor. I am playing Devroid Gravelheart, the Tier 1 dwarf speaker who separates mind from body.
And I'm Josh, your Winged Badger Game Master. I'll be playing everybody else. Now grab your drinks and get comfy, because it's time to kick off this session of The Cleanup Crew. And we're going to start this adventure with Devroid Gravelheart. Devroid, you are staking out a crime scene. Now, you've been on these guys for weeks. You've got your notes. You've got the receipts. You know what they've been buying. You know what they're dealing. You know what they're selling. You've been tracking them all over Geim. 3 tiers of the city this operation runs on. 10th, 9th, and the 8th tier. They're a kind of an all-around criminal enterprise. They're finders and fences. So these are people who other people come to them with things they want. They find them through any means necessary, and then they provide those things at a massive upsell. And you've been working hard to take these guys down, because it's not good enough for an enterprising detective like Devroid to just get, the front man, right? He wants the operation. And you've been at this for weeks, maybe months, and tonight you're pretty confident tonight is the night that, you think you're going to be able to, you think maybe tonight is the night where they hand off the profits to the boss, right? If you can catch this guy receiving the money, that's the last piece of evidence you need. Tell me a little bit about how you've set yourself up for this. The deal's going down in a warehouse. How have you set Devroid up for this steakhouse? Or this stakeout? This steakhouse. How have you set him up for this stakeout?
So with his abilities, he doesn't need to be in the warehouse, but he's definitely in the shadows of the warehouse. And so he's just kind of waiting for the right time because he knows exactly when this is going to go down. And so he's just like checking his watch, making sure he doesn't miss it. And then he's going to use his abilities to eavesdrop on this conversation and witness it.
Got it. So he's using his abilities from like outside the walls is what you're saying?
Yes.
Sure. So you found like a cool little shadowy area to nestle into. You can hear inside the same set of pacing feet that have been pacing for the past 5 minutes. The contact is late. And so this is probably your first thread, right? The person who's in there is like, you've been on them for ages. So you know all their mannerisms. You can count the number of steps before they turn and pace the other direction. As this is going on and as Devroid is outside waiting for his moment, there are no civilians here. There's nobody passing by. It's what, 2 a.m, 3 a.m, maybe, you know, it's illicit o'clock, if you will. And you finally catch in the distance a glimpse of who you think might be the boss. Now, they've never interacted with this person, so you're still guessing a little bit as far as who this person is based on descriptions. They refer to him as the big guy. This creature is tall. They refer to him as sometimes the cloak, and you see this person's got a big cloak kind of swirling around them as they walk. They're approaching towards the warehouse, and as they approach you, I would love to have you roll me a speed task relating to your stealth to see if they notice you as they walk in. This is a person who's on alert, you know what I mean? So they're looking for narcs, as it were.
13.
13. A 13 would be the same as succeeding on a level 4 task or harder. And as this crime boss walks towards the empty warehouse, they kind of glance down the side where you are. It's probably a little alley. That's how it's shadowy. They glance down there, and you think for just a second that their eyes linger on you, but they don't change their direction or modify their pace or anything like that. And then they walk towards the warehouse, I should say, push open the door with kind of a metal as they walk inside, and it clangs behind them. And then to the bystander, to the passerby, it would appear that nothing's going on. However, as you've said, Devroid has a means of understanding what's going on in there. Do you want to elaborate on how it works for the sake of the scene, or do you want to keep your secrets from the other players?
I think keeping the secret from the other players is best.
Sure. So we don't know how
I can message
exactly.
you the ability.
I know
if
how
you
it
want
works.
To know.
I'm checking. Okay. I've got your character sheet in front of me. I'm just checking to see if how much we want to give away here in our first meeting with Devroid. It starts going down. You see, or I should say, you hear a rustling of papers. There's kind of a tense exchange. It's whispered. They're doing their best to mask their sound. And then eventually they do the handoff. You hear, all right, boss, here's all the money from this week's take. And just as they do the handoff and you're getting ready to go into the building, someone bumps into your shoulder. You quickly wrench your senses back to yourself. You look around. The other creature is already walking down the alley a little bit away from you. But you find, nestled in your jacket pocket, there is a small manila envelope there. It's not sealed. There's no signet or anything on it. But as you pick it up, you hear kind of the weighty clink of gold coins. And opening it, you pull out a letter that says, spoke to Nappert, said you'd be here. He says, let this one go. And the envelope has a bunch of coins in it.
So Devroid just looks so sullen, but he knows he can't continue with this operation and at the moment, and so he's going to just put his hood up and just slink away before anyone sees him, so that way he can come back to it if needed.
Certainly. Devroid, go ahead and make another stealth-related speed task for me to get out of that alley unseen.
Okay, I got a 3.
Ooh, that's not so good. It is not the stealthiest exit, probably because he's upset. He's probably losing a little bit of focus on his interaction with the world. He steps out into the alleyway and briskly and very obviously passes by an albino dirtfolk who's got kind of like a black jacket on, long black jacket on, that's walking the other direction. He doesn't even notice that he passes by this character as Devroid, kind of stomps off into the night, Devroid, you feel a strange heat coming from the bag, or from the envelope, I should say. You know, you're only 5 minutes down the road from where it was. You feel this weird heat. You pull it back out, and the gold coins that were in there have all melted away, and in their place are 5 business card-sized, they're not business cards, but they're like little squares of cardstock or heavy paper. And on them, on one side, there's a sigil, and on the other side, there's a time and a place.
What is the sigil and, I guess, time and place?
I guess we'll find out later. Willard Taffy, as you are walking down the 8th tier, following a rumor you heard, you pass by a disgruntled dwarf who's got his hood up. He's stomping away. He doesn't seem to be noticing anything in the world around you. In fact, he kind of bumps into your shoulder a little bit, like, you know, get out of my way. He's a little gruff as he steps past you. But you've heard a rumor that there's a person who's responsible for some pretty heinous activity who is right now taking payment inside a warehouse on this tier. The way that your rumor sourcing works, you obviously, you know, you're an ear more than an eye. You don't necessarily know who said things as much as you're picking up snippets of conversation in the kinds of places where dark conversations happen. Talk to me a little bit about, you know, Willard Taffy's approach right now and what he's up to.
So Willard Taffy, when he's just, you know, out in an area that's kind of has the, you know, the speckles of light being shown through the mirrors and such, he's just going to be walking casually, you know, kind of slowly, actually. You know, he's just kind of, he's a feeble old dirt folk. But once he gets closer to the warehouses and the areas that are going to be shaded and more easily hidden in shadow, he's going to get into the pools of shadow and kind of dash between them until he finds an entrance to this warehouse that he can slowly peek his little molefolk nose into and see if he can get a little sniff of what's going on here.
Sure. Why don't we do a speed task to see how stealthy the approach is, and then we'll do an intellect task to see what he can sense on the inside of the building here.
For the sneaking task, he is trained in sneaking. Mm-hmm. So if I remember correctly, that uses it by one step?
By applying his training.
The roll is a 6.
The roll is a 6. He's approaching as stealthily as he can. However, the camera cuts to inside the warehouse where, you know, the handoff is just finishing the exchange, and one of them goes, "Boss, do you hear something?" The other guy goes, I think I might have. And they turn towards the entrance where Willard Taffy is, and so they catch, you know, right as he's peeking around the corner or whatever, they catch sight of him. Describe to me what they see.
They see a small, 2 shin tall albino dirt folk with a big, wide brimmed black cowboy hat and black duster. He looks towards them and kind of tilts his head down so that the brim of his hat kind of covers his face somewhat, and he immediately draws 2 throwing knives out of a bandolier on his person.
One of the 2 people in front of him goes, "Boss, I think that's the guy who got Lenny."
Well, I guess I got one for each of you. And he'll squint and look, like, kind of point the throwing knives at him and wait to see what they do next.
The 2 of them look at each other, and the boss goes, "I kind of thought he'd be taller. Why don't you roll..." You're trying to intimidate them, right?
Yes.
Why don't you roll an intellect task to see if you can get in their heads?
Well, I would like to describe one of Willard's features, which is...
I would love for you to describe that feature.
Terrifying presence.
Yes!
You can convince one intelligent target creature of level 3 or lower that you are its worst nightmare. I must be able to be in short range, and they must be able to understand what I'm saying. But as long as I hold this position and I don't do anything else, I can terrify a creature. It costs 2 of my intellect pool.
Okay.
But it is something
awesome
that I can do.
Short range, by the way, for those of you watching who might be more used to D&D, short range is like 30 to 50 feet kind of a space. The space you could sprint in a round of combat. So you activate this ability. I'm assuming you're focusing on... Go ahead.
He's trying to really terrify the one that seems like the lackey.
Okay.
So that he can take on the one that seems like the boss. He obviously only is going off of rumors, so he can't know for sure who is who.
Sure.
But yeah.
We'll say he gets the lackey right for the sake of the scene.
Okay.
And so he activates this terrifying presence. The boss goes, I thought he'd be taller. And everyone goes, boss, you don't understand. This guy, it was crazy. He didn't even use any ciphers or anything. Okay, he showed up, and Lenny was, Lenny's just trying to make a sale, and then this guy knifed through the paperwork, knifed through the handoff, knifed through Lenny's hand. I mean, the precision.
I pinned him to the wall.
Yeah, he did that, boss. And the boss looks back at you and goes, and what does he want here?
I want to put you behind bars.
You and what arm?
This. And then he'll throw one of his throwing knives
Absolutely,
at the
will.
boss.
Make an attack roll.
All right.
Let's see how it goes.
I love this.
This is a 16.
The throwing knife just swings along, and absolutely, the fight has begun. How much damage does that knife do? Is that a light, medium, or heavy knife?
It is a light knife, but because Willard Taffy throws with deadly accuracy, it does 4 damage.
Let's go. 4 points of damage. You see, it's not just any hit. It kind of like sinks into the shoulder, and the boss kind of, get him! And the lackey's like, right, boss, absolutely. And you see the lackey drops to the ground, like to one knee, slams his hand on the ground, and you hear kind of a dark, shadowy sense gathering around him as he activates a cipher. And a line of fire erupts across the ground towards you as this cipher lights up the warehouse in sudden, bright, shining imagery. The fire racing towards you. You're going to need to make a defense roll to dive out of the way as you're attacked by this.
Willard is going to try to essentially make a jump onto the nearest crate in this warehouse, which he's small, so it's kind of like a jump and scramble up.
Sure.
But yeah, that's what he's going to attempt to do. He rolls an 11.
Absolutely enough. He jumps and scrambles up onto a crate, and the fire kind of races out into like the street beyond. There's nobody out there, but it kind of like races out. The line of fire doesn't stop until it hits the end of the bridge. And it kind of persists for a few rounds. This was a level 4 cipher. It'll last for 4 rounds of combat. The boss at the same time is going to draw just a handgun, and he's going to take sight at you, and he's going to fire as you jump on top of the wooden crate. So make another escape roll for me.
Willard's strategy for this is literally to drop, he's laying on top of the
Sure, and we'll
crate.
say because he's so small, let's ease the task for him by 1, because I feel like his size would make him really hard to target in like a dark corner of a warehouse while he's changing elevation. Yeah,
I appreciate that, and he's got a big hat, so maybe it'll just hit the hat. 14 on the
maybe
die.
it'll just hit the hat. Yeah, you duck, and it's like the cartoon moment where you duck before your hat does, and the bullet goes in between, and then your hat floats down onto your head. And it is back to Willard's turn. He is safely behind a crate right now.
I'm giving you one last chance. Turn yourself in, or this gets even uglier.
Like, we're gonna do that. And the boss starts reloading his revolver.
All right. During that reload time, he's gonna throw another knife, and if he can, he's gonna like throw the knife and like duck behind a different crate that's like close by as well,
he's trying to
keep his position shifting. Yeah.
Great. So we're gonna have him throw the knife. I'll give you 2 options. He can throw the knife hindered 1 step because he's continuing to hide his position, or he can throw the knife eased by 1 step because he's using his surprise, but then he'll have to hide again. So it'll be a speed roll to stealth.
Let's do the second thing.
Great. Okay, so this is eased by a step for you, this attack roll, which makes it a difficulty level 3.
That's a natural 1.
Natural 1. Oh, no. He goes to throw it just as the boss gets his revolver set, and he kind of like panic pulls the trigger. And so the first shot from the revolver doesn't hit you, but it totally throws you off your stride, and you kind of slip and lose your positioning behind one of the crates. And so as Willard falls over, and there's kind of this like breaking of wood, as it kind of crumbles around him from the shell hitting the one crate. The stack begins falling. There's this kind of heartbeat of time where you are laying on the ground looking up at the two of them, and the two thugs take a step towards you like they're about to kind of finish this fight, and then you hear a totally different voice go, "That's far enough, boys." And you look behind them to where the fire had kind of raced out of the entrance of the warehouse and is still kind of lighting up, and you see there stony-eyed, clenched fists, clearly upset about something before this fight. There is a dwarf with like a long white beard and this gold cloak swirling around him. And he has emblazoned on his armor and on the shield that's buckled to one arm the sigil of the Gemstone Guardians of Geim. They are the honor guards of the elite. They protect the princess and the queen of the queendom. And everybody knows them. Like, there's only 11. And so if you see one of them, it's like obvious that it's one of them. They do have wardens who they're training, but like everybody knows the main guys. And this dude has been around for ages. He's actually a war hero from the Darkening 100 years ago. His name is Chasm Jasper. And as soon as they see him, the two thugs turn around and flee right away. Chasm walks into the room where you are, and he doesn't acknowledge you at all except to drop a small business card, a piece of cardstock. He throws it like a throwing knife, and it spirals through the air, and it ding, sticks into your hat. And he walks out, and as you pull it out, you see on one side the sigil of the Gemstone Guardians, and as you flip it over on the other side, there is a time and place. However, we're not going to have time just now to look at what that time and place is, because right now important things are happening. Frode the Forsaken, you are in your happy place. It's a Friday night. Grubbugs Clubs and Mugs is hopping right now, and you are standing in the little kind of, there's an area around the pit. Most nights of the week it's a dance floor. One night of the week it's a fighting pit. Black and white checked tiled flooring. There's kind of like a half-height wall around it, and then just along the edge of the room, there's like, little benches for the fighters waiting their turn and stuff like that. Or, on nights where it's dancing, people who are too drunk and need to sit and recover or fall asleep for the night, whatever, they kind of lay them out on the benches. And so you're sitting there kind of getting ready for, this would be like your fourth or fifth fight of the night. And you're on a streak. I mean, it's going great for Frode the Forsaken. Talk to us a little bit about how he looks, what he's feeling, what's going on with Frode.
He's sitting down at the bar. That ain't the right voice for him. Sorry, apologize. He's sitting down at the bar, and he ain't look like much. He's got a canvas shorts, clearly sewn out of probably 2 potato sacks, and a gray shirt that perhaps was once white. And the only thing adorned on him are 2 gloves that seem to never be taken off. And he's enjoying his time at the bar, sitting down almost comically on this bar stool that somehow supported his weight, chatting up with his gnome to his right. Now, what you don't understand is based off the description you have just given upon me. If I were to find any elf and take off their legs at the knees and cut their ears, they would be a dwarf.
No, you're not understanding how the thruppy work. It's the lycanthropy and others. It's a transformation. It's not that they're harmed and they become one. It's so. For example, my grandson, right? He turns into a duck. Now it's not that like his legs are removed and then he's short like a duck. I mean, he's a gnome, but he actually gets a little bit bigger with the transformation. It's crazy. He wandered off to a summer camp one year, and we haven't seen him since. But I think he's out there still somewhere. The disease is the foulanthropy, I suppose we could call it.
I don't think that's how that works.
Aviothropy. That's what the doctor said it was, not foulanthropy.
Well, then he's not a duck. Because a duck was born out of an egg, hatched.
No, he was born a gnome. He has an affliction that changes his state of being into a duck. There's a call from down the stairs where the pit is on the first floor. There's a call that comes up. 3 minutes to the next part.
Oh, I do apologize.
Yeah, you'd better get down there. I've got money on this next one.
Well, good luck on that. Wink. He says that out loud.
Are you saying that I should perhaps withdraw my money from this fight?
What? No. Why would I say that? I'd say you put your money in. If you're feeling lucky. Wink.
He looks at you a little bit lost and bemused as you walk away across the floor to the stairs. There's a little balcony at the end of the bar level of Grubbugs Clubs and Mugs where people can look down onto the pit so that the more civilized folk who want to continue their drinking and just observe can stand up here and watch. There are artifacts that have been installed on the four corners of the pit area to provide lighting. It's brightly colored during the different dance nights, but tonight it's just bright white lighting, very harsh, illuminating everything in well-defined light and shadow. As you step down the stairs, you can see on the other side of the pit there is a well-known dwarf brawler who has been kind of in the circuit here about as long as you have, maybe even a little bit longer. And the two of you, you know each other. You have kind of a grudging respect for each other. And so he kind of nods to you as you walk down the stairs. And then looking back up as a crowd begins to gather at the half wall, you see a familiar face up there who nods to you and kind of gives you a little bit of a hand wave, just like, hey, hey, I'm up here. I got you. I'm watching. You walk back down into the pit. And
he's taking off his shirt.
Sure. Is he doing anything else as far as like his setup or his beginning or anything like that? Like, what's his process when he enters the ring?
Rolls his shoulders, which is just large scraping sounds. He's checking his gloves, making sure the straps haven't wear thin yet, and that the cushion's still there. Checks his arm joints, flexes, moves it all.
Constantly
ranges.
This big stone scraping, as he's moving.
He does stretching, almost like he's preparing for a run or a marathon.
Okay.
But really, just stretching all his joints. Some of them don't scrape correctly, and you hear occasional crack and popple of rock tumbling down to the ground, but he doesn't seem to mind. Okay.
Opposite him, the dwarf has got his gloves on. He's taken off his shirt. He's got his kind of like his heavy trousers or his blue jeans on. He's kind of smacking the gloves against each other, making sure the padding's still in there. And he looks over at you. One of the kind of ringleaders or whatever comes down and says, all right, touch gloves. And the two of you walk to the center of the ring, reaches out, touches gloves, and he goes, I'm going to get you for last time. Yeah.
Now remember, we're in a circle. In this circle, we have made a pact. And this pact is that we must fight for the entertainment of those surrounding us. This pact is what contains us in this moment.
Why do you always go over this with me before we fight? Like, we fight here every Friday almost.
It's important to set the ground stage of the rules.
And fight! And without any pause or ado, the dwarf immediately just takes a big swing at you. Make a defense roll. Speed defense.
That's 18.
18. You easily dodge out of the way as he whiffs his first punch at you. You kind of step back. What's Frode doing?
Come on now, you gotta swing a little quicker than that. You just one more try. You got this.
You're not gonna try and hit him?
Nope.
Okay. Frode keeps taunting. You get in his head with that. You don't even try and hit him back. He he kind of grits his teeth, sets himself, and he's gonna attack you. He's gonna apply some levels of effort to this. Go ahead and roll another defense roll for me. Speed defense.
Okay. I did roll 18 before. I'd like to remind you, I believe I'm hindered in all speed defense tasks here.
Okay, good. That's great. We love that.
All right, I rolled an 11.
He hits you 4 times in a row using his levels of effort to deal. I'm just counting that as extra damage because he's applying them to his damage. So he hits you 4 times in a row, just bam, 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 bam. They don't hurt super bad, but you do take 8 points of might damage. So it's still cumulatively the effect is pretty significant. Above, the crowd is roaring. Yeah, now it's a fight. Woo! Give him the chair! Off the top rope! And they're just like, yelling down as you're fighting this guy. What's Frode doing?
All right. Well, he's gonna go ahead and just go in for a nice haymaker. Wah!
Okay.
And he rolled a 10.
You rolled a 10. That is not enough to hit this guy. You fought this guy long enough. You probably know he's a level 5 fighter at this point. So the difficulty roll is a 15 to hit him.
All right.
With your 10, you are not successful. You also whiff your attack. I'm going to pitch you on a GM intrusion here if you'll accept it. I guess you don't have the XP to turn it down, do you? He's going to grab your hand as you attack him, and he's going to throw you into the stone half wall to try and kind of turn it around on you a little bit. You get an XP, and you can pick one other player to give an XP to.
All right. You know what? I like the other kooky fella, so he gets an XP.
Which one's the kooky one?
I can't see their names anymore on the screen, and I have a memory of a duck.
Is it Willard Taffy, the dirt folk albino who was fighting in the warehouse?
That doesn't sound right.
Is it Devroid Gravelheart, the dwarf who left his post after a weird pile of money was given to him?
No, that doesn't sound right either. Perhaps there's one more option.
You haven't met Armis Thrupp yet, but he's the other one.
Oh, okay. If I have to choose somebody who's gone already,
you don't have to.
I'll give it to the band I haven't heard of yet.
Armis Thrupp. All right. Armis Thrupp, add 1 XP. So he kind of slams your head into the stone facade. Take another 2 points of might damage from that attack. It'll just count as another light attack.
All right.
And then he will use his turn in combat to attack you again. So make a defense roll to avoid his punches. He's going to try and punch you twice.
That's a 7.
He hits you, and you take 4 points of might damage as he punches you again. What are you doing now?
All right, here we go. We're gonna go ahead and use block, which uses 3 points of speed.
Okay.
Automatically will block the next melee attack.
Perfect.
That was an action to initiate. And now how does the action economy work as a reminder here?
So you're using your turn to set yourself up for the block. So in your turn, you have 1 action. That's how the Cypher system works.
All right.
You can
Then
move
yes.
as part of your action, but it's all 1 action. So
I move up into his face.
sure, you get right up in his face, immediate distance moving. You and he are kind of juggling. He throws another punch, but it whiffs as you kind of duck out of the way or block it or whatever it takes. What are you going to do your next turn?
All right. Well, we're gonna take a level of effort.
Okay.
We're gonna make sure we hit him this time.
Yeah, you are.
And I would like to say, since he just missed and I'm up in his face, it doesn't take much to hit him.
You're trying to get me to ease it by a step for you because you're up in his face? Sure.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I'll give it to you. I'll give you that ease.
All right. He's got to hit eventually.
He sure does.
I got a nat 20. I didn't
Nat
need any of
20.
that.
This is the one. You hit him hard. Describe the knockout punch to me.
All right, he's been bubbled up, but he got up into his face. He goes to punch him, and at that moment, he tensed his gut, and his fist just smacks into hard stone. And as he does, he takes his 2 hands, pounds him upon his head, and he crumples like a sack of potatoes upon the mat.
And as he falls to the ground, the crowd roars. "Ah, woo!" And you look up and you see your particular friend up there give you a nod and a wink and start raking in money towards him. And you also see, just as you're looking up then, you see a kind of a well-dressed noble, probably from the 3rd or the 4th tier of Geim, put his hat back on as he leaves the establishment. He kind of straightens his hat on his head and just walks right out the door, heading out the other direction.
He just immediately beelines for the exit of the ring. He rips the door open. He is looking. He's racing up the steps.
Sprints up the steps, pushes people out of the way. You get to the front door, bust through it, And there, you see him going around the corner and heading onto one of the bridges, leaning away from the pendant you're on.
I grab a bar stool that was perhaps thrown out after it had already been splintered from an earlier fight, and I chuck it as far as I can.
It slams into the stone, but it doesn't hit the person because he was just going around the corner. So he's probably, past you around a corner now. But you can chase him around the corner again if you want.
I'm chasing him.
Oh, yeah, you're chasing him. Roll a speed task. Let's see if you can catch up to him.
All right, I'm using a level effort.
Okay.
That's 15.
Oh, yeah. Easy. You sprint around the corner. The man is gone. The hat is on the ground on fire, burning to a crisp. And as you kind of like kick it or hit it or whatever you do, it reveals a business card underneath it, untouched, with the sigil of the Gemstone Guardians on it and a time and place. You flip it over and you recognize the place because the place is Grubug's Clubs and Mugs, the private party room upstairs. Speaking of the private party room upstairs, a quieter, more gentlemanly atmosphere, which is where we find the final of our party members here. Mr. Armis Thrupp, describe your posture, your attire, kind of the vibe we're getting as you sit at the gaming table. You're there with probably 4 or 5 other individuals who have spent the night playing for a lot of money, surrounded by a haze of cigar smoke.
You see Armis sitting there. He's a very tall, even in his chair sitting up, he still has like a very tall demeanor to him. He's wearing his nice pinstripe suit. He has an overcoat thrown nicely over the back of his chair, and you can see he's got his two more primary hands holding his hand of cards, and his 2 others are kind of folded just across his chest. His 4 other arms are folded in 2 sets across his chest, and it's hard to distinguish what a happy spider person looks like. But even as he's here, you see he's got a very charming air about him, and there's something, a warm twinkle in his several eyes.
The dealer looks over at you and says, "Well, what'll it be, Armis?"
Remind me what we're playing again, good man.
How much have you had, man? It's blackjack.
It's been one wild night, let me tell you, my friend. Hit me again.
Okay, and he hands out a card with one hand, and with the other hand, he motions off a waiter who was coming over to refresh your drink. Like, no. Hits you with another card.
Can I use my advanced, my training and perception to see that and tell the waiter that it's okay to give me more alcohol?
Yes, sure.
Okay, cool.
Right. Caught between his customer service and probably his manager or something. He's like, sure. And he holds out the tray to you so you can take another glass of whatever's in there.
Are there multiple drinks on the tray?
Yeah.
He double fists. He takes 2 of his free arms and double fists it while he's still holding his cards.
Of course he does. Okay.
Lay him down, good friend.
You take your 2 drinks, you take a look at your card. I'm going to present a GM intrusion to you that without intervention, you are out of blackjack at this point. It would take you up to a 22. You going to accept? I guess you don't have an XP to refuse. Take an XP
I do have one, but I'll take the XP.
Great. We'll take an XP and hand one out to a friend.
I'll give it to the mysterious stranger who I felt a strong spiritual bond with. I haven't seen this person, but I know there's a friend in this building.
Okay, I believe that would be Frode the Forsaken. Take an XP.
Absolutely.
I see we formed a little sub-team here already.
Did we not expect this? There's 2 law-abiding,
fair.
justice-seeking characters and 2 chaotic ones.
That's totally
I thought
fair.
we talked about that in the session 0.
That's totally fair. Okay, so you look down and the card in your hand would take you out of the game. Now you've got, most of your money is on the table. What is Armis Thrupp going to do?
Armis is going to take a sly little one of his free hands. While he's sipping on a drink, he distracts everyone by taking an alarmingly quick gulp of one of the glasses that he has, and with one of his free hands, he fingers through one of his pockets and finds a card that will do what he needs to do.
Okay, let's roll a speed task to keep this hidden, and you've definitely eased it by a step by doing the feint. We'll say this is you're playing against people who are focused on the game and they're looking at you, but they're also not like experts on multiple arms. You know, they're probably looking at your card hands. So I would say that that's probably like a difficulty 4 task.
I'm trained in deception. Does that ease it?
Yep,
any
that'll
further?
ease it a second step. So now it's a difficulty 2. You need to roll a 6 or higher to pull one over on these folks.
19.
19. Easy. You succeed and you get a minor effect. What would you like your minor effect to be?
Is it possible that I can snag an extra coin from somewhere else on the table?
Yeah, sure. That's a great minor effect. Yeah, easy.
Cool.
So you've got so many hands working for you here. That's easy. So you not only pull out the card you need and switch it with the one that you drew, but you also slide a little coin over from your neighbor maybe, and put it into your hand. You're now holding blackjack. You've got 21, a big old 21 in your hand.
I just slam them down. Read them and weep, my friends. Hey, another one for me.
Again? And you see that 2 people are out. All their money was on the table. It's down to you and 2. It's just a grand total of 3 people left at the table. Cards are being shuffled and redealt. You look back down into your pocket. You check your trusty supply of, convenient backup cards. They're gone. They're not there anymore. You pull one out where it should have been because there's 1 card in there. It's not your helpful normal poker cards. It's a business card. It's got the Gemstone Guardian sigil, which by the way you hate, on one side of it, just the design of it, and then on the other side it has a time and place, which is in about 5 minutes in the private room on this floor of the establishment. What are you gonna do?
I'm going to mutter under my breath, God, that logo's still ugly as hell.
Next to you, one of the other gamers goes, "Hey, what are you doing pulling cards out of your pocket?"
Pardon?
What you pulling cards out? You didn't just pull that in the last game, did you? And the other one of the 2 people who just went bankrupt walks over and goes, "What did he say? Are you faking cards
gracious,
out here? Armis, you wouldn't lie to us now, would you?"
I would never do such a thing to my good buddies. Come on, you know me.
Armis, we do know you, and what we know is that your suit looks a little bit repaired, and that perhaps you aren't the most trustworthy fellow here at the bar. You're heavily intoxicated. Have you been switching cards on us? Have you been pulling sleight of hand tricks?
Heavily, look, guys.
Armis.
It's not important what's happened tonight. It's the memories we've made that is going to keep us all together for the rest of our lives. Here, have a drink. And can I try and reach a sloppy hand into someone else's table?
Sure.
It's on me.
Yeah, roll a speed task to swipe the drink and try and hand it to somebody.
Cool.
I love this energy.
It's a 13.
A 13?
Yeah.
You grab the drink and hold it out to someone, but nobody takes it from you, so you've just got one arm holding out a drink.
So I've got 3 drinks now?
Yeah, 3 drinks. 2 of them you've been drinking. One of them you're holding
More
out to someone
for
else, and
Armis,
the other
I
hand is
suppose.
holding a card that's not a real card. Everyone is looking over at you, and the whole room has kind of gone quiet and is looking towards you. The dealer, who works for the house, obviously, looks over at you and goes, "I'll show you a drink." And he flips the gaming table up, and he immediately tries to attack you. He's going to leap over the table and try and pin you to the ground so that they can check you for fake cards. Make an escape roll, speed task.
Speed task. Oh, jeez. That was so
Might
quick.
or speed.
Speed,
choice.
Might or does perception do anything for attacks, would you say, in your own ruling, or is that more of a environmental
I would think of
thing
that as
rather
an
than what's-
environmental thing.
Okay, that's what I figured. I'm trained in initiative actions. Does that help?
Yes, that does help.
All right,
that
great.
In combat, when we rolled initiative, it would make you a little bit faster. In this case, I'll just say it eases the task for you because your reflexes are really good. Because there's just
Super
you and one
duper.
other person, so it's not really worth rolling initiative.
I perceive that I win.
It looks like an easy fight to me. He's leaping over the table, snarling at you, glass shattering as he sweeps them off to the side.
I rolled a 17.
You rolled a 17, easy. You jump back out of the way, and he kind of like plunges onto the floor. It's a tackle that misses you as he kind of splats on the floor. He immediately scrambles up to his feet. Armis, you can't cheat in my pub. I won't have it. I won't have it. And, around you, people are just getting back out of the way.
I chug one drink and I prop myself up by my cane. It's like, buddies, come on. We don't have to do this. Let's just talk it out. Look, we can, let's redo the whole game. I'll give everyone back. What were you, about $10? And you poor sack of shit. Yeah, but you didn't have much today, did you?
Make an intellect task to persuade them, but we're going to hinder your difficulty because you're insulting them as you're trying to persuade them. And I'm going to hinder you a second step because you're intoxicated heavily. So that's an intellect task, and we're effectively subtracting 6 from your roll.
Okay, great. It's a 17 on the die, so 11.
Dang, you're still doing good. You see some
Drunken
of them.
fist style.
Some of them are relaxing. The manager still looks pissed, but he's not continuing to attack you. And he goes, "You'll give it all back now."
Most is good for me, but if I have to do all,
No, give it all back.
All right.
Count them out. Everyone, pull out your receipts from when you bought your chips tonight. And
Since when? Receipts? Holy smokes! You don't trust anybody around here, do you?
the receipts are produced. Are coins divvied?
Yeah, I
Okay.
will give out as I'm in too deep at this point.
Okay. You start handing out the coins and whatnot. As the coins are being handed out, you hear a familiar voice behind you go, "Well, isn't this a familiar sight?"
Well. One of the most beautiful voices to have ever blessed my ocular hole. Not ocular. I'm too drunk for this. Jasper, you old so-and-so.
Shut up and get in the parlor room. And Jasper walks away from you and into the room that you've been summoned to.
I'll follow you, but on the way I'm gonna pitch you on a whole new set of duds for the logo. It's awful, Jasper. You know this.
I'm a knight. I'm not a designer. I didn't make it.
You can talk to people. I know you.
No, I hate that I have to talk to you. And he steps into the private parlor room through the door. And as you step into the room through the door, you see that it is a medium-sized room. It's about the size of like a suburban basement. It's got frosted glass windows. It's pretty upscale. It's pretty fancy. And as you're kind of just sitting in there getting acquainted, probably annoying Jasper with continued conversation that he doesn't want to hear, over time, the doors open and some new people walk in. I would love Devroid for you to describe Devroid to us as he walks into the room with the business card in his hand that kind of summoned him to this room.
Yeah, so Davroid is a very well-dressed investigator. He's got khakis that are nicely pressed. He's got a button-down white shirt with a brown tie, and then he has a beige trench coat and then a brown top hat that as he comes in, he takes off and puts on the rack along with his trench coat. And then he immediately pulls out his notepad and begins writing stuff down. You guys don't know what he's writing, but he's just like writing descriptions of everyone he sees in the room.
As he walks into the room, Jasper looks up and goes, "Gravelheart? Well, welcome."
Oh, Jasper.
Thank you for answering the summons. I understand we've interacted briefly on a previous case.
Yes, I was happy to help. If there's anything you need, I'm here.
Sure, thank you. And a little while later, in the kind of awkward silence of people sitting. Well, actually, I guess this is your first time also interacting with Armis. You see Armis sitting there. Armis, you see Devroid as he walks into the room. There's a brief little interaction with Jasper there.
Drink? Hold up one of the only drink I have left at this point.
It's like half-shattered glass.
I don't drink on the job unless the assignment calls for it.
Suit yourself.
As you say that, the door is again pushed open, and in walks Frode the Forsaken. Frode, describe your demeanor and your appearance as you step into the room post, the hat has been burnt on the ground outside. How are we doing?
Putting his shirt back on, and he's walking in backwards. And he's like, is there anybody wearing anything upon the tops of their heads?
No.
Not inside.
So, if I were to look right now, I could see the top of your scalps.
Yes.
I believe so. Is this true? There's no hats in the room, right, Josh?
There's a
It's
hat
just
in the room.
you all in the room and Jasper.
wearing it.
Jasper's not wearing a hat.
Jasper, you're not wearing a hat today, are you? Yes.
There's no covering upon the skull located in the vicinity of this room.
There's a hat on the coat rack.
Oh, that's downstairs. You left it at the coat rack downstairs.
No, in here.
This guy better sit next to me.
They told me they would uninstall the hat racks up here for that purpose. Please, before we continue this discussion, remove it from visual view.
Devroid will like questionably go to the rack, take his hat, and just kind of shove it in his
Please,
coat.
quickly. I know it's there.
It's away. It's away.
Oh, okay. It's gone, right?
Yeah.
Okay. How's everybody doing? Sorry, I left in a hurry earlier. If you made any bets, they fall under the rule of bringing hats in the ring. We all know the rule. It's listed at the front door. If you don't know it, the bet's gone. Did anybody make bets?
I especially.
Why don't you like hats?
I didn't say that.
You come sit next to me. We have a lot to talk about, I feel.
Oh, your name?
What? Armis, drink?
You fool! Can't believe you said your name so quickly.
I love you. I don't know what else to say. I'm smitten, my friend.
Oh, don't worry, I'll teach you the ways. Now, what are we having? Is this a game of the mind we're having here at this table?
I particularly enjoyed your last fight of the evening, Frode. It was
Thank you.
quite an arrangement.
Yes, well,
And he
you
looks
see,
very pointedly at you.
You know, everybody makes the bets and they all know the risks.
Indeed. Well,
And to be fair, he had me on the ropes. You saw how he clobbered me. I lost almost a few pounds in the ring.
yes, well. And he pulls out a pocket watch from his, I don't know, from a pocket or something. It's on like a little chain. You know, he pulls out a pocket watch, checks the time. I'm still waiting on one more. He's a little bit late, actually. And just at that moment, Willard Taffy, you want to describe your entrance to us?
Willard Taffy comes in. He's still that albino dirt folk. He's still wearing the duster jacket, and he is indeed wearing a black cowboy hat. During the daytime, he doesn't wear it quite as low. He has it more tipped back, in a more casual demeanor. And he comes in, and he's holding actually a teacup on a little tea tray as he comes in. And he steps in and he says, "Well, I'll be. Would anyone here like some peach tea?" And he kind of folds up the teacup.
I would love some, as long as you tell me you do not have a covering, a capping, or anything else covering the scalp upon your
Jasper
head.
rolls his eyes.
I do indeed have a covering, a cat. What did you say? A capping? All of those things. I'm quite proud of this. And he kind of tips his cowboy hat.
Really appreciate it. If I do not see it, it would be quite unfortunate if I saw it.
That would be unfortunate for you, I'm sure.
And don't you know when this is an establishment upon a roof, already established upon your scalp, many feet above your head, there is no need for a covering in this vicinity.
Well, you discount that I'm quite attached to this covering.
If you were
It's been
attached, then
through
you
a
would
lot.
attach it to a hat rack where it belongs, where it is neatly stowed and safe from harm.
Mr.
Well-
Mole Man, I haven't known this guy long, but I've got a feeling he's gonna snap you in two if he sees that hat.
I'd like to see him try, but I will detach the covering from my scalp, as you would say, and place it underneath my tush as I sit on the table, the chair over there.
Guy's gonna sit on the hat. That's gonna crush the hat.
I thought he loved the hat.
I do indeed love the hat. I'd like
It's a
it to be
collapsible
with me.
hat.
That's quite ingenious. Describe it. Don't describe it to me. Don't describe it to me.
It just provides a little extra cushion.
I hope it's doing you well. Are you sitting upon it now?
Yes. Yes, you may open your eyes.
Oh. Okay, all right. Before we continue talking any further, there are a couple rules you need to understand. It's written on the front door when you enter this establishment. No hats. There's hat racks galore. You see all the hats when you walk in here? That isn't a display. That isn't a gimmick. You put your hats on the hat rack.
Willard just kind of ruffles the fur on top of his head.
And I mean no offense to you.
I
You
don't-
seem like very polite. And I wish to enjoy your tea. It looks very peculiar, and that is to my enjoyment.
It's quite delicious, but as you may notice, and
Willard will kind of tilt his head down.
I do have the mole pattern baldness, and I'm loath to show it to people. That's part of why I like to keep it on.
It looks great on.
Yeah, and he rips off his shirt.
Oh my.
Here, throw this on your head.
Willard will. It like covers Willard because Willard's only 2 shins tall. He can't be seen underneath it until it kind of shuffles. Like you kind of see limbs poking out of it, and then it kind of drapes over his head.
And it's like, thank you. It's quite cozy.
Oh, good. Don't worry. It doesn't smell. I don't have sweat glands, so you don't have to worry about that. It's just a little grimy.
Willard will kind of just give a little mole thumbs up with one of his mole
It
claws.
like pokes through the shirt, like
Yeah.
holds up the shirt.
Now, I would like to say we have the rule of 5 has met at a table of junctions. And at moments like these, critical things must have happened. And I would assume that the man of gold of this hour, with the time in his hand, is to dictate time for us at this moment.
Jasper very quickly stows the pocket watch. I was not particularly expecting that. Yes, I have. Yes, I've called you all here because there has been a plan about the world that has to do with you now. And I wish I could present it to you under better circumstances, but alas, I cannot. And so I press forward with the plan as it is.
Well, this has nothing to do with the statue, right? I told you it was a mistake.
May I?
I'll shut up.
Thank you. There are qualifications in this room, despite appearances, that are necessary for an initiative of the crown. And so you have been called into service, despite my best efforts to persuade Her Majesty not to perform acts unbeknownst to, he kind of slams down a mug, unbeknownst to the populace of the world that will mark it for the better.
Mr. Gold, sir,
Yes.
my friend here had a hand raised. I believe he had a question.
I know.
I did have a
but-
question, Jasper.
I know, but is it for the DM?
No.
Oh, well, I know, but it's from Armis, so I'm ignoring him.
Oh, that's quite rude, Armis.
We are
He's a character. He's a card.
we are in an uncertain and unstable time, and there are precious few stable nations, and we cannot be seen as what am I doing? You don't need to know all of that. You don't
Well,
need
if
to know
time's
anything.
unstable,
You
just
will
put
be-
it on the table. The table's pretty
You
stable.
will be given assignments, and you will carry them out, and that is all there is to it. If you fail to comply, yes, you.
I don't even know who these strange people are.
Yes, well, considering that you are wanted in 4 municipalities, and you have committed crimes, including murder in this one, you'll be complying with the crown because that's the leverage we have over you. And if you don't want us to make a particular phone call to a particular department about your whereabouts, then it will be best for you to maintain your participation here. And the rest of you can discard all of that information and rest easy that we have the same level of leverage over you. You are here because you have a talent. You are not here because you are a personality. You are not here because you are of any particular interest to me. You have a talent that is of interest to the crown. And
Mine is this. And I chug the drink really fast.
yes, that basically is yours. You will be sent to the sites of arcane manifestations where wild magic poses a danger to those who are outside of the borders of a nation that can protect them, and you will subdue whatever threat arises there, and you will research the problem, and you will bring back the information so that I can pass it along to the Gemstone Guardians who may need to act upon that information. And that is your purpose here.
Willard's brow furrows, and his demeanor from kind of doddering old man with the peach tea has changed to more of what we saw in the intro scene. And he eyes Chasm Jasper and he just says, "What's in it for us?"
If you comply and you perform this job for 1 year, at the end of that year, your various leverages will be given to you, and you will be provided a means to start with a clean slate. Yes, Armis, even you.
I thought we weren't getting jack for this. That's awful kind of you, Jasper. I knew you were right.
It wasn't my idea.
All right.
I
Can I ask my question from earlier?
I suppose.
Did this guy bone a statue or something? He said something about a statue, and you didn't seem happy about it.
The thing about knowledge is that it has to be traded and seeked and bought. And you have not done any of those things to gain such knowledge.
Anyway, we're going to relocate you somewhere where we can get a sense of your fitness for the job to which you have been called, and we will discuss next steps at that time here. And he hands out another set of cards kind of slides them across the table to each of you with an address that's like somewhere out there in the wilderness.
My talent is obviously my intellect. I believe Armis, right? I gave up your name so quick. You must be drinking. We got the murdering over there. But who? What's your for lack of a better term, and as the people around here like to call it, what's your shtick?
I am an investigator on the 8th tier.
So we got a pair of eyes. We got a pair of fangs. We got a bottomless pit. You got me, the brains.
Yes,
God
well,
bless your heart.
I'll see you first thing on Monday. And Jasper stands up unless there's any questions.
Oh,
No? Good. And he walks
Is it
out of the room.
which Monday?
Wait, where the heck did he say we're reporting again?
There's
It's
a
on
card
the
in
card,
front of you,
probably.
yeah.
We got
He
the
didn't
card.
mention if it was gonna be the Monday of the current era or the one from 2 eras ago in which Mondays were banned. I want to show up on a banned Monday.
He's always been sloppy like that.
All right. You may know me as Forsaken, as they call me down in the pits. I will not be so foolish as to give up my name so easily. Armis, I'm sorry, you seem like really great, but you really gotta not give up your name so quickly.
Forsaken. You point to me and you say I have murder covered, but I think I've heard of the Forsaken in the context of murder before.
Well, many have said quite a bit, and I will say the name does bring to it a certain connotation.
I don't take kindly to, not to talk about my past, to interact with other murderers.
Whoa, now that's a strong word. I'm only using the labels given to you by Mr. Society that just walked out the door there. Is that label wrong? Are you perhaps not one who has taken a soul from this mortal plane?
I'd like to ask you the same question.
Oh. That's a fair question.
It seems we are at an impasse.
Well,
What has Devroid been doing this whole time? He's been so quiet.
Taking notes.
Taking notes. He's got the minutes of
Yeah.
the meeting.
Basically.
a spring's waiting at the bar, and I'll make sure little kid doesn't swipe it again. So if you don't, you know what, Armis? For giving up your name so easily, I'll do you the service of paying for it. Next time, don't give it away so easily. Names carry power.
You just say you're gonna get me a drink?
Yeah, I know. I have a few favors with the bartender.
What are we doing in this old room? Come on! Are we supposed to chit-chat? I don't know what to do with you fellas. Do you guys hang?
Well, I would like some of the peach tea, and if you could get past the fact that you seem to think I'm a murderer, I'll get past the fact that I think you're a murderer.
Peach tea does solve all ills. And Willard will take his teacup, take a sip of it, and then kind of look at the rest of the crowd and say, I'll prepare more downstairs. And kind of hop off of his chair and kind of make sure he's holding his hat on the opposite side of his body that's facing Frode, and kind of scoot out of the room.
Frode just happens to turn away a little bit as he does that, and as he walks by the Gravelheart here, he grabs him by the scruffs, and he's gonna go ahead use a might roll to pick him up and be like, come on, student, I hope you've been taking notes about name calling. We're going downstairs to get to know each other. Not for free, of course. Never for free.
On the way out, can I try and take a glimpse at whatever the heck Devroid was writing?
Sure. Devroid, are you trying to cover it up or keep it secret?
No.
Okay, so you can just see it.
Okay.
It's literally the conversation that happened in this room.
Down to the second.
God, you're
With timestamps.
meticulous man. Everyone in here is really fun.
I didn't come here for fun. I came here for a job.
Oh, you find many things you don't go looking for. Now, come on down. We got a job whether we like it or not, and so what it seems, and we might as well have a little bit of getting to know each other and some fun while we're at it.
That's right.
Oh, wait.
Tell him to... Oh,
Up. Am I due for another one? I yelled down to the bar.
No! They yell back up to you.
Okay. Sometimes they like an encore after I run out chasing after rule breakers. So
I have an ability that's know a little bit about everything.
Okay.
Would I be familiar enough with Fae to know that with the referencing of names and stuff that's generally Fae related?
Yes, you could get the general sense of Fae flavoring here.
Okay.
all right. Now, it sounds like we've been forced against our will
As y'all walk down the stairs, you kind of get closer to the club
Yeah.
music, you know.
to participate in grand affairs far-reaching beyond the scope of our minds. And with our hands tied and bound to the rails of fate, we might as well share a joke or two, no matter who lays beside you. Now,
You first, I guess. Come on, lay it on us.
all right. Well, if you insist, I was having the fondest conversation earlier, and I'd like to have all y'all inputs on what makes a duck. Because this gnome earlier was trying to tell me that his nephew or some other would turn into a duck, but that's preposterous.
grandson.
Oh, Mr. Bargo!
I keep telling you, it's not a duck then.
My grandson was born with an affliction.
He turns into something that looks like a duck, but just because he looks like a duck doesn't mean he is a duck.
This guy hadn't been.
The argument, you chop off the elven legs at the knee and you take off their ears and bam, I got you a dwarf. That doesn't make him a dwarf though, now does it?
These days, there's probably some sort of damned newfangled machine that can turn you into a duck. God, I hate these new.
It's the
Not a
room
real duck.
pulsing gently with the artifact lights that are, in different colors all around you.
And I hate these. Make me. I can't even hardly see in these pulsing lights.
Bartender, may I have a menu?
Yeah, they hand a menu across to you.
I fold it into a little, and I say this with the utmost scrutiny, visor. It is not a hat. And I place it upon a little albino mole folk's head. Here, that should block out the light.
Thank you. If I may ask one more time, what is it in particular that keeps me from donning my headgear?
Well, you see, I'm just a stickler for the rules in this facility, and I will say, once you're already covered by the heavens with this fine roof, it would be so rude to wear a hat, because then you'd be telling the bartender here that you don't trust the craftsmanship of this building, and that it would fall upon your head at any second, and thus you must wear a covering. No need. None.
So, the bartender here knows that I trust him.
As Willard literally walks behind the bar and procures a big teapot of his tea that's just been sitting behind the bar.
But it's like,
And,
yes, hello, Willard.
Thank you once again. Hope you've enjoyed your servings.
Oh, yes, it's
and
been delicious. Best peach tea this side of...
perfect.
Well, anyway.
We can just walk behind the damn bar.
No,
We'll let me
Willard can
have
just
some.
walk behind the bar. And as you try
yes.
stomping down the stairs, is that manager from upstairs. Don't let him anywhere near our anything official. Don't let him near the cash registers. Don't let him near the alcohol. Certainly don't give him another drink.
You guys are funny, that's for sure.
So, Frode, can we wear head coverings outside then?
Well, I'm sure you could.
Would it bother you?
Well, I'd probably not be looking in your general direction, seeing I'm inside and you would be outside at the time.
Do you just live your life inside of this building and never
No,
leave?
I would assume I would leave eventually as well.
I'm not
I don't
learning a lot
understand
about
what you're
you.
getting at. All right.
And when you leave, do you see what happens if you see someone with a head covering outside?
I don't. It's that simple. I haven't had an incident for
3 days.
bartender. Yeah,
been
you
3
can
days.
scratch that.
Yeah.
You can reset
Yes,
it to
we
zero.
saw. Yep, it's already. You look behind him. There's a slate thing that says it has been zero. There's a big zero on it. 0 days since the last hat incident. And then beside it, you see the sign that all of you missed because it was hastily nailed up way late, and it's like much smaller than everything else because it's been jammed into place next to the menu that says, "Please remove all head coverings."
Well, let's just say I have a disposition of a medical No, what's the word for it? It escapes me.
Maybe this will help. As Willard pours everyone a glass of tea.
Oh. Well, you don't seem as sharp and pointed as you were in that room upstairs. You're a little rounder now with this tea in your hand.
Oh, well, you see, I can turn on a dime. So,
Whoa,
don't you dare insult my tea.
Give us a spin then. Can turn on a dime.
Oh, I can.
That was my joke.
His
I liked that.
head is more like face down. He's looking up with a bit more menace in his eyes, and you see if he opens his jacket, the flash of some knives behind him. But then he closes his jacket again and kind of smiles and like nods his head towards the tea.
All right, old man.
I like this one. He's got the whole act all together. He will shake your hand and wish you a good night while shoving the blade deeper in between your ribs as you sleep.
Willard just kind of like waves his hand like,
That's, it's an old timer thing.
and sits down at the bar.
To carry a bunch of knives?
You can never be too cautious.
It's pretty dangerous out there, I hear
Well,
you.
yeah, you don't need a
Indeed.
license around here for it, so I can't blame him, now can you? If there's no license, then there's no worry. If nobody tells you no, then there's no reason not to.
That's lovely. Let me see that tea.
Yes. All right, so yes.
The tea is quite lovely.
Good peachy aroma. Steep just
Hey.
right.
This is quite nice, Willard.
Thank you.
Willard, may I ask a favor of you?
Yes.
And I will give you something
You
in
may
return.
ask. You may at least ask.
All right, well, I'll answer one question. If you promise me this tea in the time of critical need, it will be in the future.
That is something I believe I can safely promise, especially if we are
Are you
meant
sure?
to be forced to be, together for a job, I guess, for the next. How long did he say?
1 year.
What one?
Devroid
one
consults
cycle.
the meeting notes, the minutes. Podcast listeners, all of the timestamps on our YouTube and Spotify podcasts were actually tracked by Devroid throughout each
By
session.
Devroid, there you go.
At 8:05 p.m., he told us 1 year.
Have an XP. That's great
1
roleplay. I love that.
year. Yes, I believe that is something I can promise.
All right. Well, just to warn you, it could be at a sudden moment, and the company may be unpleasant, but the tea will be most critical.
I've been around my fair share of unpleasant company.
All right. Well, I'll just have to teach you. You already seem a little better than
I'll
poor
drink to
Armis
that,
here.
Willard.
But all right. But ask your question, but I'll have to whisper it to you, as it is knowledge I am trading for directly with you.
Would you like me to whisper my question?
It would make me feel better, but you may ask it however you please. It is your question, not mine.
Well, for your privacy, as you are respecting that exchange with me, I will also whisper my question.
Ooh, all right.
And then Willard will kind of get off of his bar stool, which is kind of a big drop
Yeah.
for a little Tushin guy, and he pads up to this massive hematician and kind of beckons for him to lean down so that he can whisper the question.
Are the rumors regarding your family and the nature of their death true?
That's two questions.
The nature of your family's death is the question.
Well, that's a hard question to answer, but I'll answer it the best I can. Problem is, it's like asking why the sun is blue.
This does not sound like whispering.
He crouches down, gets up to your ear. Well, the rumors that you have heard simply can't be true because they are not dead.
I appreciate your candor.
And Willard will kind of give him a little pat on the stony head and take a couple steps back.
You see that, Armis, right there? That was a blessing from an old mole folk. Do you know how rare those are? I've got to write that down.
And Willard will turn around and give a hand gesture that is not a blessing in return.
Oh. Well, now you've ruined it.
But he smiles. He's smiling while he does it and then goes back to his bar stool.
Great. As he's doing that, Devroid, your sharp eyes notice a strange glint in one corner of the bar that there's no artifact nearby it to cause the light to reflect.
Davroid will just seamlessly get up and go investigate.
Sure.
He's not like trying to be stealthy, but he's doing it like inconspicuous.
There's a small pocket of magic there, a little cipher, a little knot of arcane energy just kind of pulsing gently. As they occasionally pop up throughout the world. This is nothing out of the ordinary for your knowledge, but there's one just kind of sitting there if you'd like to interact with it or try and take it.
I'd like to identify it first.
Sure.
Can I identify it without picking it
Yeah,
up?
make an intellect roll.
Cool.
The level is 6, so your target roll is 18. This one is a strong one. I've been rolling for what it is.
I'm going to spend a level of effort.
Okay. That makes your level 5 with a difficulty target of 15.
Oh, natural 20.
Natural 20. You get your effort back, so add those 3 points back in your might pool.
Yay.
And you successfully identify that it's called a leaping cipher. And it's a level 6 leaping cipher. So one time when you jump, you can spend this cipher to ease the task by 6 levels, which means that hypothetically you could make the impossible possible, right? Because like a level 10 is typically the hardest task.
Yeah.
Which can't be rolled, but you could bring that into the realm of possibility.
I would like to exchange that for one of my ciphers.
Go ahead. You kind of just subtly slide your hand into it and draw the energy into yourself, and as you do, a new rune appears on your arm, replacing one that kind of dissolves. And now you have that in your little inventory there. We get a little...
So you said it reduces a might roll?
A might...
Or jumping
Yeah,
roll?
a might roll to jump by might, or speed, I guess, depending on which modifier you wanted to use. But it removes a jumping roll, eases it by 6 steps.
Okay. I dropped my giant, cipher of giant.
Fantastic. You have done that.
What of this do we all see over here at the bar?
You're like crouched down talking to a hematician, so you probably don't see anything.
True.
Armis, I'm sure that as a sharp-eyed character, you notice. So you see Devroid go over and kind of just subtly reach his hand into one of the pulsing lights, and then it's not pulsing anymore. It gets sucked into his arm, and you're like, that wasn't a light, that was a cipher. You kind of notice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm just standing at the bar. It's like, come on, you can give me at least 5 more.
No, sir, we've been ordered to cut you off. This is the end of the night.
Orders can be rewritten.
It is
you know, it's
in the morning.
just
We
words,
have other patrons.
man.
Please just
Did
move aside.
promise him one of mine.
This guy offered. Come on.
Just one.
He's been cut off. I can't do it.
Well, can I have mine?
Yes. And he hands you a drink.
Thank you. Here you go, Armis.
I drink it too fast for the guy to get it away from me.
I know, whatever. Just put the glass back on the bar. He just
Yeah.
he
All right,
immediately
now, hey.
takes it away before you can break it or drop it or whatever.
Yeah, just give it to him. You
Now,
see,
what's your name again, Armis?
I will never tell.
There you go. He's alerted.
Oh, I'm gonna pass out any minute.
Anything else that we want to do on this evening, or should we skip ahead to the prescribed time and place?
I think skipping's good.
I think
Skipton's good.
I think it's time to turn in.
Clink
I'll-
one word.
Skipping.
I'll take Armis here up to the room I have rented. He doesn't look like he's fit to walk.
All right.
Yeah, just a little thing. I wrap all 6 of my arms around them as they carry me up.
Perfect.
It's a very, very sturdy, tall backpack.
Great. A couple days go by before the appointed time and place arrive, and we now find you, standing just outside the city of Geim. You've had to go up through and past the 10th tier and exited back into the mountains. The city of Geim has a number of reservoirs that are in the mountains, naturally forming mountain lakes that are just gravity-fed water inlets into the city. And the prescribed place, so to speak, is next to one of these, where a heavily armored wagon with the sigil of the Gemstone Guardians that Armis so despises waits for you. And there are a couple of Gemstone Wardens, trainees of the 11 Guardians, who are pulling the cart, and Chasm Jasper waits for you inside the cart. As you climb into the cart, in particular Willard, you feel a little bit of extra tension compared to the others as you notice a large arcane artifact of some kind suspended in there next to Chasm Jasper. It's a big black obelisk, probably for Willard, it's probably the size of Willard. It's like 2 or 3 feet in diameter. It's not perfectly spherical. It's like when we see the Death Star, but they haven't finished building it, it's got that big chunk missing. It's kind of like that. It's sort of irregular but vaguely spherical. It looks like a moon rock, and it is just floating there, kind of spinning gently on its axis horizontally next to him as you get in. He doesn't even really acknowledge it or seem to care. He's got a little thing, a little clipboard in front of him. He's checking off names as you get into the cart with him.
When Willard sits down, he just kind of sits back at, on the furthest corner away from this floating thing, and he just crosses his little arms and is just glaring at this thing.
Everything all right, Willard?
This gosh darn, this newfangled gadget's magic and floating. It's got bits. I don't trust it.
It's only one bit. It doesn't have any other. Okay. As you were.
There's one bit, there's always more bits.
At ease there, Sheriff. As the last of you kind of climb into the cart, he knocks twice on the wood, and it begins clattering and rolling up the mountain pass until eventually it leads you to, on a mostly long and awkwardly quiet ride, to a derelict building. This is a small 3-story watchtower that sits on one of the mountain peaks. It seems like it's probably from the Darkening type era. According to the stories, Geim had lookouts and armies and stuff all spread all around these mountains at that time. This seems to be an abandoned keep from that time period. And as the cart kind of clatters up to it, Chasm says, "Well, take a look at your new home. This is where we'll be operating out of. They've seen fit to give us the finest real estate the queendom could muster, and so here we are. Let's see if you're up to scratch." And he hops out of the cart behind you, the strange obelisk kind of floating alongside him, and leads you all towards the crumbly front door. It is just a house on a mountaintop, basically. It's kind of like a stone and wood construction. It's almost like a cabin sitting up here. It's got a very generic kind of timber roof on top of just some blocks. It's kind of the equivalent of what a fire lookout would be. It filled that role for them. And it's in disrepair, cobwebs in all the corners, kind of wild and overgrown where anything can grow near it. And pretty good view all around of the snowy peaks and stuff like that. You're far enough from Geim that you can't hear the bustle of the city, despite the fact that there's a huge hole in the cavern over top of it now. The bustle has all faded away, and so it's actually quite peaceful up here. You get just a little bit of a, kind of the gentle sound of birds flying by, maybe a few hardy insects that can live up this high in the mountains. You're not on one of the tallest peaks, you're just on a peak. And so there are some mountains above you that will cast some shade at different times of day and things like that. Stretching up to the north, you can see the mountain range sprawling out, kind of like spines on a dinosaur's back. To the east, you have kind of a view of the countryside before it eventually ends out in the ocean. Arivale far to the northeast, and then to the west of you, you can see off in the distance the even larger kind of central mountains of Urda, where the city of Stainless once stood. And from up here in this kind of peaceful house, Jasper says, right, well, it's been determined that we need to figure out if you are up to scratch and whether you can even perform the tasks that need performing. But I also know that I probably didn't present your jobs in the most flattering light, and so I did want to give you some assurances. And he hands to each of you a document that I'm not going to say now because we have some secrets from each other as players. But as you open it, it is a legally binding contract with a signature from the Queen that requires a counter signature from Jasper that's not on there yet, that would acquit you of all wrongs and take liability for whatever you've got in your past that you're trying to get rid of, and put it on, basically saying, like, if there's a financial liability, Geim will pay it. If there's whatever, the Queen's going to take care of it. He says, so this is the carrot. And then he takes it away again, and he says, and I'm the stick. If you misbehave, we'll have to just throw you in jail and give you to these kingdoms with outstanding problems. So that is the circumstance in which we find ourselves. Now, everybody ready to put your skills to the test?
All right, so he's going to be doing some stabbing,
Jasper.
he's going to do some drinking, he's note-taking, and I'll solve the puzzle.
Okay. When were we at the bar last? This is Monday. Was it a Friday or something?
Yeah, it was a Friday night. Now it's Monday.
All right. I'm not as hungover as I would have been on that night.
Right.
Or that morning after that night.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're probably not fully sober just because of who you are, but you're not hungover.
Willard just looks up at the obelisk that kept following Chasm Jasper around and kind of just goes,
That thing couldn't have stayed in the car.
No, this is how we're going to test your qualifications. And as it floats closer and you get like a more, not in the dark light of the carriage view of it, you can see that it has the logo of Edison embossed into the side. So this is an Edison simulatrix, and as it floats down closer, it creates a mesh that allows us to simulate believable environments in order to test your skills in various scenarios. We also use this with our organs.
It's dreams! Dreams is the answer!
Yes, it's much like a dream. However, this particular simulatrix has been
Are you taking notes, Gravelheart? That's part of your test. You gotta be taking notes.
This particular
You look over and he's already writing stuff down.
This particular simulatrix, and he just kind of rides over top of Frode as he's talking. This particular simulatrix has been programmed to create a circumstance to which the Gemstone Guardians recently responded. A crisis of the type that you will soon be tasked with responding to. And so we're going to place you into the simulated, we call them mesh planes. It's a demi-plane that does not reside anywhere in the universe. It's entirely contained within this simulatrix. We're going to place you in the mesh plane, present you with a circumstance. I will be observing, as well as I. And you see another Gemstone Guardian was waiting in the house for you, and he goes, I'm here to brush up on your combat skills. We all know Jasper's a little old for things like that. Jasper kind of gives him a look, and yes, well, we're going to be observing through this small crystalline screen here, and you see that there's like kind of a televibe-like device implanted in it as well, through which they can watch. And that's the circumstance. So if you'll all step up here and just merely place your hand along the side of the simulatrix, and you see that there are some glowing little sections that you can touch.
Ooh, glowing!
As soon as Devroid touches it, he vanishes. And there's a little cipher kind of arcane sound, and he appears on the little televibe screen, the little monitor on top of it. Devroid, for your part, you are suddenly standing on familiar ground. This is the 6th tier of Geim. You've been here before. You're standing on a bridge. There are no people, and there's no sound. Like, the simulation hasn't begun yet, but you're like, oh, I recognize the environment. And that's kind of where you are. The other 3 of you are now in the room, I guess, waiting to make a move.
Witchcraft! Sorcery!
Did you see
I
that?
will not be touching the
It's simple artifice, Taffy. It's simple artifice.
That is amazing. His soul was stolen.
It's not stolen. It's just it's a demiplane. He's just in a demiplane.
I applaud you. That was amazing.
Yes, it is fantastic. You should try
Steal
it.
my soul.
Yeah, try it.
And as soon as you touch it, there's a little bit of a noise, and you vanish. And next to you, Devroid, as you're standing there, still, I guess, cheering about the amazingness of it all, appears Frode the Forsaken.
Oh,
Your voice like
They stole
echoing
my
around
soul.
the cavernous Geim.
Can I go in next, but can I like stumble and like on the way in, pretend to trip and like try and hit the one guy that dissed Jasper in the nuts with my cane?
Yeah, absolutely. You don't need to roll for that. That's fun. You do that, and yeah, you hit him in the nuts, and then you disappear into it. So you're not even there as he like reacts. He goes, "He did that on purpose, I think." Well, I'll whip him into shape. We'll see how he feels after some training. And all that is left is Willard Taffy
Armis. Well,
and the two.
Willard is literally just standing there with his arms crossed, staring at the thing.
Taffy, please
And
don't
then-
make us pick you up and push you into this thing.
Can you guarantee
like a feral cat?
you? And then Willard kind of changes demeanors again. You must guarantee that if I survive this year working for you, you will sign those papers.
Of course I will. There are orders. Doesn't matter how I feel about them. I'll do it. You saw who signed
Spoken
the
like
other.
a true soldier.
You saw who signed the other part of that paper. You think I'm gonna go against her?
All right. And Willard will just like sullenly step up to the simulatrix and like head down, hand up, wait for it to come down and touch his hand.
It's been a little while. So as he appears sullen and sulking next to the three of you, what are you doing? Are you talking, or is there a conversation or anything like that has started up while you're waiting for Willard?
I think I
So
was just as
we're-
hype with.
We're not actually in Geim, guys. This is just a simulation.
Our
of
souls
Geim.
were stolen.
It was
Can you believe it?
insane. You have to agree that this was pretty crazy,
This
Devroid.
is pretty crazy. I haven't experienced something this in I believe a couple hundred years now.
It's a
What happened a couple hundred years ago?
Oh, that's neither here nor there, nor the time, nor the place for such a
probably getting frisky with a statue. Am I right,
You begin to
Frode?
hear screaming
Whoa,
and
whoa,
shouting
man.
as all of a sudden the
Allegedly.
city comes to life around you, and there's this big crumbling and grinding of stone. There's a little bit of a big explosion that reverberates through Geim, and you see the bridge you're standing on. A huge crack appears running down the length of it, and it begins sagging in the middle, like it's gonna split open on both sides, almost like it's opening like a dump truck, like it's gonna just deposit you in the middle. You are in the center-ish of the bridge, and this big explosion has happened. They're screaming. There are civilians on the bridge. What's everybody doing?
Devroid is like trying to escort the civilians off the bridge. So he's like, go, run, start running. The
gonna
bridge is falling.
Roll an intellect task to see if you can kind of take charge and cut through the panic they're feeling.
Yep.
This is going to be a difficulty 4, so target roll of 12.
I got a 7.
Okay, it doesn't seem like nobody's really listening to you.
I'm gonna go ahead, use my ability, Muscles of Iron.
Okay.
And that will now make all might tasks for the next 10 minutes eased.
Okay.
That does take 2 from my might pool.
Okay.
I'm just gonna punch either side of this crack and just heave it together again.
You're going to try and hold the bridge together?
Well, there's a crack in the stone, and the only way you fix stone is by pushing it back together.
Okay, that's going to be a difficulty 9 task with a target roll of 27. You've eased it by 1 step, which makes it a target roll of 24. Thank you. Target roll of 24. You'll need to ease it by 2 more steps for it to actually be achievable.
Now, hear
do
me
you have the
out.
assets, the skills, the effort to make it happen?
Willard has something that he can. So Willard can see that that this is what Frode is doing, and Willard will kind of go up to Frode and just kind of point out things on the ground and say, "See, once back in Tumbleweb, we had a quake that went on, and the roads they started cracking.
just like this. And what I did is I told the deputies, well, you stick one paw here and you dig down and you gotta support it. You gotta find the direction that the quake is coming from and work against it.
Sure.
I get it. You gotta grab its spine.
So that assistance
gotta
will ease it
grab
by
its
one
spine.
more step for you. So
this is his ability called Anecdote.
Okay.
Which means that also for the next hour you are trained in a task like this.
Okay.
Trying to keep the stone from crumbling.
great. So
and I
we've
will
taken it
use
from
a
a
level
9.
of effort.
Yep. So your level of effort, and then you're going to apply the level of training that you just got. So we've gone from a 9 to an 8, now to a 7, difficulty of 21. Now your effort, right? Because you did, because it's automatically eased. So now your level of effort brings it to a 6, which is a target roll of 18. That is rollable. Are you going to do anything to try and make it easier than that, or are we going with an 18?
I'm going to remember that since this is a simulation, it is all in our minds. And using the will of my lucid dreaming that I've been mastering for long times of meditation, try to bend this thing to my will.
Using intellect will have no effect on this.
Oh,
For all intents and purposes, this is the real situation you're in.
never mind.
Okay, so target roll of an 18.
Yep,
Here comes the roll.
here we go.
If this works, I'm going to be amazed.
I almost misread that. But that is sadly a 12.
A 12. You punch into the stone on both sides, but it's not enough. You feel the bridge slipping away. The effort is to hold it together is going to be too much, and you are forced to release one of your hands as the bridge continues to crumble. Civilians begin falling through the opening, and everything goes silent and pauses, and you hear Jasper's voice go, "No, that's not going to save it. You can't have civilian casualties. The whole point of responding to outbreaks of magic like this is to prevent the casualties. So let's run it again. Let's run it again." And in a blink, you are back on the bridge. There's a boom, and it reverberates across the bridge as this kind of wave of cracks runs down the length of it, and it begins opening, kind of like a, like windows or like a dump truck or something. It's going to dump you out, and it begins falling. What's everybody going to do? Civilians are screaming, running, panicking.
Can I do like a really big perception check to see like what the primary danger here is?
Absolutely, you can. Go ahead and roll me an intellect task.
Okay, gotcha.
And this is kind of a sliding scale of success, so it's not like there's a target number. It's like the better you roll, the more you see.
Gotcha. I don't know if it helps, but I'm trained in perception actions, and I've got the sharp-eyed, which is also training in perception
Great.
actions.
So
I don't
by
know if that
applying
makes
both
it like
of those, add 6 to your roll, because that's like easing it by 2 steps.
Super duper. Ooh, need that a little bit. That is with the +6. That's a 15.
Okay.
It's a 9 on the dice.
So with your 15, you immediately notice that if you follow the cracks back up the bridge, on the next pendant, the big, intersections that are kind of suspended there between the bridges, on the next pendant, there is a civilian. It looks like maybe a young girl who is kind of screaming and panicked and spinning around. And there is some kind of artifact or a wild magic cipher or something has kind of bound itself around her arms. And every time she tries to pull them apart from each other, this big shockwave reverberates throughout, and the stones begin shaking and stuff gets messed up. Like it's whatever's happening to her is what is causing all of the seismic activity that's panicking the civilians. And so you've got all these people here who are in danger, but if she's not stopped, then obviously it's going to continue and get worse and more damage will happen.
Okay. I'll just say, I'm going to try and take care of this little girl over here, fellas.
All right, I'll take care of the rest. And Frode's is gonna reach his arms out like a big bear hug and run straight down the bridge, grabbing everything in front of him and just shoving them in front of him.
Oh, like pushing
That's
them
the
to
brains of the
safety?
operation for you.
Yes.
Sure. Let's make that a might task because he's trying to push everyone. Well, I mean, there's no doubt that he's got the endurance to run the length of the bridge. So really, this is about his strength to push everyone ahead of the danger. Let's go ahead and make that a might task with a difficulty of 6.
All right.
So that's a target roll of 18 normally, and then you can modify the task as necessary.
Already eased by my 10-minute muscles of iron.
Yep.
Then it's going to be, of course, a level of effort. Mm-hmm. And, you know what? I think seeing a large, stony Haematian man charged with his arms wide open, let's go! Might just push him in the right direction naturally.
No, it's a good try, but if they don't notice a cop yelling, run to safety, they're not going to notice you sprinting at them either.
I thought they might notice the boulder coming after him.
The boulder! No, they do not. So you've eased it by 2 steps from a 6 to a 4 with a target roll of 12.
You know, it's an uneven surface. My arms are a little tired.
No.
I rolled a 2.
You rolled a 2. You are unsuccessful. There's just too many people. You can't get up the running speed to push them, and you feel the bridge beneath you and them giving way. There is still enough time here for Devroid and Willard to get an action in.
Devroid would like to try the same thing, just escort people, but the other side that Frode didn't go down.
Okay.
So he's just going to, even more commanding, come on, everyone. We got to go. The bridge is collapsing. Run that way.
Sure. Go ahead and roll your intellect task to motivate them to run the other way.
I'm going to spend a level of that.
Great. So difficulty 6 eased to a difficulty 5 with a target roll of 15.
I got a 12.
Aw, man. It's not enough. You're yelling at them to move, and they just don't seem to be doing it. You're having trouble getting through to these crazy civvies. And that leaves us with Willard Taffy. What is he going to do?
Willard Taffy, when he sees Mr. Speeiter start running up to the whatever disturbance is happening up there, his eyes follow that, and he, I would assume, also spots like what's going on. There's some sort of magic entanglement that's happening with this little girl.
Yeah.
And he immediately like just
accursed magical I'll come help you.
And he starts running up, following Thrupp to see if he can aid this little girl.
Sure. And as he sprints, the bridge begins crumbling and falling a little bit more. Civilians are starting to lose their footing, but we've got another round here before it completely breaks and people start like falling. So we've got one round to try and get this mass off the bridge, essentially 5-10 seconds-ish to try and shove some people to safety or figure out a solution for the falling. On the other end of the bridge, this person's screaming, spinning around. She's panicking. She's clearly in pain. Whatever's on her arms is burning and hurting a little bit. And she tries to, again, to like wrench them apart. And there is as the shockwave radiates out from there, I'm going to roll to see if it hits your bridge. Luckily, in this case, it stays airborne. Unfortunately, that does mean that from Armis and Willard, I need might rolls with a difficulty of 4 to continue running, and the shockwave doesn't push you backwards, basically negating your momentum.
Because Willard is a dirt folk, he has an inability in might rolls.
Ooh.
So does that mean it's
That hinders him by a
always
step.
hinders a step?
Yep.
Okay, cool. And that's already a 4 on the die.
Ooh, that is not good. Okay, so Willard, he doesn't fall off the bridge or anything, but it kind of negates his momentum. So he's still going to need to run another short distance before he gets to the combat in the next round, or to this girl. I don't know if he's going to beat her up or not. But Armis, how'd you do on your might roll?
I rolled a 17.
Armis, you succeeded. So good job there. Armis just sprints right through it. There's the shockwave. How does Armis avoid the shockwave? Paint the scene.
I think he's running along. He's got his cane. He's feeling the wobbles in the ground, and he takes his cane and just kind of slaps it down on the one side that he looks like he's gonna fall down on, and kind of launches himself more forward and gets the momentum back under him.
That's cool. Which brings us to the next round. All of you can kind of just take your actions as you will, but Armis, you're an immediate distance away from the girl, which means that you can interact with her without any kind of speed penalty. Willard Taffy, you are a short distance away, so you can move there this round for free, or you can move there and take another action, but you need to pass a speed challenge of 4 to take the other action. and then Frode and Devroid working with the civilians, you can continue as you were. So what are we up to, folks?
I think
Armis should go first. See what happens.
yeah,
Sure.
that's true. That's true.
With my perception, can I just tell that if the further she moves if she keeps her arms together, will this pretty much be? Is that the source of the thing? Is her fighting it?
The shockwave is caused by her moving her arms apart. The fact that it's hurting her, you're not sure what's causing,
Right.
the burning sensation on her arms.
Right. Gotcha.
It's
Okey-doke.
like quicksand. It's like quicksand. That's what Willard is yelling from a short distance away.
Okay.
Thank you, Willard. And so I go up to her and I try and very sweetly say, "Hey, little girl, I'm sure this hurts right now, but I'm gonna need you to stay calm and I'm gonna need you to trust me for just a sec."
Stay calm. How can I stay calm?
Before she keeps on yammering, I'm just one moment, and I use my level 5 cipher for pausing time on her.
Let's go. You freeze her
There
in
we go.
place. There is kind of a... and you freeze her in place. The shockwaves cease, and although you can see that, the burning will continue, it's not progressing. There's no extra pain for her. She's frozen for, I believe we said 5 rounds. Is that right?
I believe so.
It's level 5, right?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Perfect. So that's easily the rest of this combat circumstance. Willard... well, I guess anybody can go next. The bridge is still unstable and is going to collapse from damage on it. But you prevented further damage.
Now, if you don't get it moving, I'm gonna start a smashing. So
You guys
better
can do
start
your
moving.
civilian tasks first, and then
so
Willard will
that sounds
follow
like
up
an
at the end.
intellect roll if you're trying to scare people into motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big boulder man, how difficult would you say scaring them into motion?
I would say it's the crowd is a difficulty 6. I think it probably, we'll say you ease it 1 step just by being imposing and scary and a little unhinged.
Okay.
So difficulty
enough.
5 for you. Target roll of 15.
Roll a 6.
All right, you are unable to motivate the crowd to move. They're gonna fall if Devroid can't figure it out.
Devroid's just trying to yell louder, be equally intimidating, but he is trained in intimidating other creatures.
Oh, okay. Well, then let's treat what Frode did as a the help action now that they're kind of working together on this. So his training will ease it by 1 step to a 5. The assistance will ease it by another step to a 4. And then if you use a level of effort, is that what you said?
Yeah, I'm going to use
Great. So the level of effort will ease it to a difficulty 3. Target roll of 9.
Please. Student. Note taker.
14.
14.
Nice.
Together, shouting at the crowd, bellowing at the top of your lungs, being as intimidating and forceful as you can. Finally, the combined power of your complete lack of authority and total sense of authority combine together and steer this mob in the right direction, and they begin running in the right direction. Now, all that is left is that this bridge is going to collapse, and you're going to be the last 2 people off it because you're pushing the crowd. And so when it collapses, we are going to have to try and solve that problem. But that's a future round us problem. Willard Taffy, what are you up to?
Willard is going to try to make the speed task thing, so once he gets there, he can take an action.
Great. Target roll
You
of
said difficulty
12.
4?
Difficulty 4.
Okay. All right. That's an 8.
Okay. Willard skittering and running along the bridge. It's just the uneven ground. It's hard to sprint at your full distance in that. And so you do make it the full distance. Normally the GM makes you trip somewhere, but I think in this context it makes more sense that you get there. It's just so much navigating of the cracked stone that you don't have time to do anything else, which means that the bridge is going to begin truly and freely collapsing. And stone blocks begin just kind of falling out of the side of it as we see Devroid and Frode, both of you are right near the end of the bridge, but the stones do fall out from under you. So let's get your reactions first, and then we'll check back in on Willard and Armis. What are you up to?
Could I use the cipher of jumping?
Absolutely, you could.
There you go.
That is a great use for the cipher
Look
of
at
jumping. With a kind of arcane noise, you activate it and you leap The difficulty would be probably a difficulty. What did we say it was when you held the bridge up? That was a difficulty 9, right? The structural thing. This isn't as bad as structure, but you are losing the ground under you, and you don't have any real momentum because you're behind a crowd. So I'll say it started at an 8. You've eased it down to a difficulty 2. So a target roll of 6, unless you're going to apply more effort or anything like that.
I should be good with that. I got a 16.
All right. You, as the stones fall out from underneath of you, you kind of tap into the other arcane rune on your arm, and you leap into the air and easily clear. You almost jump over the crowd, and you kind of like clear and land in front of them. The panicked people sort of pausing and staring. Frode the Forsaken, what are you up to as the ground kind of falls out from underneath you?
I'm going to kick down with all my might and shove this in such a violent direction downward that I managed to get just a little enough momentum forward. And it won't be enough just yet.
I love that every solution has been shoving something.
I will punch what's left of the bridge just to shove my fist in so I'm dangling by the wrist.
So you want to impale your hand by your fist into stonework. Just so we're clear,
Yes.
That's what you're doing.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Cool. That'll be difficulty 8, might task, which is a target roll of 24.
All right, well, it's eased 1.
Eased 1, because you've got your ability, so it's a difficulty 7, target of 21.
Now, I am quite literally made of stone, and it is stone on stone. So I feel like I'm not just punching it with flesh. I will say I feel like I have some advantage there over a strong person punching with flesh.
If it makes you feel any better, I don't think I would have let someone who was punching with normal bones and flesh attempt the task.
That's fair.
So you could spend a level of effort to get it down to a target roll of
levels of
6,
effort.
which is an 18.
You can only spend one level of effort at a time at our level.
Oh, that's
I think.
right.
Yep.
That's right.
I'm trying to think if there's any other thing I can think of in this moment.
You can spend an XP for a short-term ability, a player intrusion, and you can try and create something that will assist you. For example, another use of a player intrusion here might be that the way the bridge broke creates bumps that are like kind of like a ladder, and so that would be an asset that would ease the task by 1.
Well, okay, you don't have to give it to me straightforward.
Just trying to help you think in cipher terms.
He's the brains. He was gonna get there.
Yeah.
He solves the puzzle. You're so right.
All right. I'll go ahead and use my player. I'll use my 1 XP
Okay.
to make it so that way there's already a hole in the stone face, and all I have to do is fit my hand like a glove.
That's a terrific idea. It's way easier to just pinpoint a target than it is to impale your fist into stone. That's only going to be a difficulty 5 task, which will ease by 1 for your ability to difficulty 4. And then if you apply...
And I will use an effort because I've been rolling poorly.
Then your effort will make it a difficulty 3. Target roll of 9. Way more achievable. Also, great use of a player intrusion. That's a really good solution you came up with.
All right. Here we go.
Here it is.
Just gotta roll, and please. I don't ask for much from you, Di. You gave me that 20 earlier, and I know you've been like, you paid for it. Here's the debt coming. And I'm like, all right, but the debt's paid now, right? The debt's paid! It was another nat 20.
Nat 20. You slam
Should've
your
just jammed
fist
the
into
fist.
there, and it comes with, first off, nat 20, you get all of your points back that you spent on this roll. So your level of effort, get those 3 points back in your might pool.
Yep.
And then you also get a major effect. What would you like your major effect to be?
I would like that if there were any casualties that were gonna fall from this bridge in this moment, that I grab them.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. So the bridge begins breaking. We hear the cipher activate as Devroid leaps up, lands in front of the crowd, and begins taking charge of the mob to make sure they don't fall backwards off. Before he can do that, one of them does totally fall off the edge, but luckily, Frode, who has found an ideal handhold and just slammed his stone arm into there, his Hematetian hulking form kind of dangling, sees them fall, catches them by the ankle, and is holding them up Spider-Man style off the side of the bridge. On the other end of the bridge, Willard, Taffy, and Armis Thrupp, you are now standing with a time-frozen woman who's got some kind of weird, like, arcane binding on her hands. It's not like a material like metal or whatever. It's like threads of magic that are tangled around her. What will you do?
Is this one of them godforsaken freaking
this is a newfangled thing.
Knots of cipher magic.
And Willard will kind of take a closer look at it and see if he can observe whether this is like a cipher that one of them could absorb.
Okay, make an intellect roll.
All right. Do I know what the target roll is, or do you not? You're not at liberty to tell me.
I'm not at liberty to tell you that.
Not at liberty to tell me that.
Not until
he's gonna use some effort to ease it one step.
Yeah, he is.
He got a 19, so he probably didn't need to do that. But
19. He succeeds with a minor effect. So you successfully identified that this is a basically it will cause a shockwave. And what's happening is the cipher has, for whatever reason, for whatever unstable, volatile circumstance, it's almost like the magnetic poles where like they are attracting together to try and create the shockwave cipher. But by pulling them apart, there's this burst of energy as they snap back towards each other. And that's what's been causing this kind of sonic boom. The problem is that this creature, this woman who's trying to, she probably didn't do it intentionally, but like her body is not arcane enough or is not like attuned enough to the magic to bear a cipher. And so it's just like kind of writhing through her skin, and the extra energy is too much for her body to handle, and it's causing this kind of burning sensation. And all she knows is it's trying to yank her arms together. So she's been trying to pull them apart. But yes, it could be absorbed by someone who is capable of bearing a cipher, and it would be as simple as like reaching out and grabbing both of her arms at the same time so that it could, kind of come into your body and be absorbed.
Willard will kind of shudder and kind of be like, I do believe that if you or I would prefer it be you, just reached out and took her by the hands, this should all go away.
Oh, I don't mind that. I just used up a really good cipher on this little scamp. I'll take whatever she's got.
Okay, Armis, you reach forward, and as you grab her forearms, the kind of familiar sort of glow leaks up your veins, and a new tattoo appears on your body. Let me roll for what level it is. This is a level 5 cipher of shockwave. That means that the might roll to withstand it essentially will be a difficulty 5 when you activate the shockwave. It'll be centered on you, and it will impact people within a short radius of you. So that's
even though this is a simulation, that's a real deal I get?
Yes, it's a real deal you get.
Heck yes, brother. I didn't know if I'd get my time thing back or not.
No.
I figured.
It's cooler to keep rotating through them. I love the varied abilities.
Absolutely.
Okay, so
I hate these varied abilities.
And then as you finish saying that, time freezes all around you. Armis briefly wonders if his own cipher just went off. You can still move, just like the simulation has frozen. And you hear Jasper's voice ringing out. That was honestly better than I expected for your second try. Come on out of there, and we'll kind of review some notes. And you see a doorway just kind of materializes in front of each of you.
We get our souls back.
We never lost them, Frode.
Well, we may have never found them either. Now, if you think about it anyway, I could wax philosophy all day. Anyway, here I go.
Frode steps into the door, winks out of visibility. Devroid steps through the door, winks out of visibility. Yep. Armis and Willard. Willard, are you going to go through, or are you still like...
As long as there's a way out of this place.
And Willard will go through as well.
Steps through, and Willard... Go ahead.
Can I take a sec? This was like a little girl, right?
Like a teenager, yeah.
Teenager. I just look at the kid and take a beat and like have a heavy breath and leave.
And as you step back into the doorway and your body materializes back in the derelict old keep that's apparently going to be home away from home for the next little while, tonight's adventure in the Cypher system comes to a close.
Gas.
Hell yeah.
Gas.
Wow.
And that's it. That's session 1. We did it.
So
Now-
many pretty sounds, Josh.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's an additional element to the Cypher system that is different from D&D, which is your character arcs and progressions. We evaluate at the end of each session whether your character has taken a step on their personal journey. Now, your personal journeys, a lot of them are related to some of your secrets from the other players. If you want to maintain those secrets, we could do this offline where you just talk to me and we try and decide if you've taken those steps. Or if you're more comfortable sharing them with the players, then we can do it here at the table. But I just didn't want to force you into divulging things that you wouldn't normally want to.
I feel like I would like
I
to
can
say,
share mine.
yeah. Would you say the promise I made with Mr. Murderer, Willard Taffy, for the peach tea was a step towards my goal? You understand why the peach tea is important?
Yes, I do. And I think, yes, that constitutes a step, which means you can have 2 XP for that.
Yes.
Also, before anyone else evaluates personal character arcs, all of you get 2 XP for progressing on the story arc. The story of the overall quest here is uncover a secret, and uncovering a secret begins with being pulled into the web, right? So that's your step towards that, as being pulled into the process here. So 2 XP for everybody for advancing on the party arc.
Nice.
Noah's famous party arc.
That's right. Would anyone else like to try and evaluate their character arc here, or would you rather do it offline?
Yeah.
I could do mine here too.
I say I could do mine here too.
Okay.
Willard, I would say I would think that an opening to Willard's arc, I'll even be transparent about the type of arc it is. The restoration arc, the opening is vow to yourself. I would consider the moment before entering the simulation where he, is just levels with Chasm Jasper. Like, you have to promise me that you're gonna go through with this.
Yeah.
As
I
like
could
his
see that.
moment of like, all right, I'm jumping into my hero's journey here.
Yeah,
like,
that makes sense.
going into the unknown.
Yeah, like
to
I've found
make
a
this
way
vow.
to hopefully undo the wrong, and you got to commit to it. Sure,
Yep.
I could see that.
Yep.
Sure. So that's 2 XP for Willard and the step he's just taken. What about Devroid?
So I picked establishment as his arc, which is I want to prove myself as someone of importance. And he's mainly trying to gain favor with Jasper, as that is sort of the path he sees to advancing in his career. And so I guess the argument I'd make is performing well in the task might look favorable towards Jasper.
I think that he probably made more progress towards establishing. Well, yeah, that's fine. That makes sense to me, and I would say yes, he's taken a step. I was gonna say I almost feel like he probably impressed Jasper more with stepping up and trying to take leadership and focus on the civilians in the crisis than he did by like how he actually performed. Probably his attitude towards that was more impressive to a Gemstone Guardian.
Okay.
But either way, I mean, his behavior in the
Yeah.
simulatrix. So yes, I would say that's great. And he's definitely taken a step there. Armis, you want to talk about yours, or do you want to do it offline?
I can try. It's mine's mine's redemption, and I don't want to be just cheesy and be like or cheese it that just participating and trying to be a good person. I don't know if this is particularly trying to be a good person. Just going along with this thing has any weight in that, or going to help the little lady first. I don't know.
I would
guess-
argue that the moment he had with the little lady, that little beat
Well-
is a small moment.
I guess like before this all happened, would he have done something like that?
I don't know.
I think honestly that might be the impetus for the redemption arc. Like realizing what he's given up, or what he doesn't have anymore as far as like his family and his life and his connections or whatever. So maybe I could see that being a step, not because I don't think he made any effort to be a good person, but I think facing and owning up to the fact that like, maybe this is something that I've missed out on or that I've lost or whatever. I think that's a step.
I'll take it.
Yeah. Good.
Take a step, take a step.
Take
Everything you own to the step to the left.
Well, that's great. So 2 XP for everybody from their personal arcs and another 2 XP from the quest arc.
I'm not gonna lie. I already put it 4 of my XP
into an advancement.
+1 to edge of your choice.
Let's go.
You already know
Nice.
what edge it went into.
Might.
Clearly,
Guess who's getting free?
Yeah. Guess who's back?
Guess who's back?
We love that. Okay. Well, if there's anything else we need to talk about, we can do so now. Otherwise, I'll quick do outro and announcements.
I will say, I do apologize. I feel like I turned a little too much. One of the things I feel like we went into in the background of this was just like, let's make this a bit more gritty, a bit more real, buddy cops real. And I have done quite the opposite. So I will apologize.
No, well, we talked about a few different things, and I think what we kind of settled on was like a Suicide Squad, Bad Boys sort of thing. And fundamentally, those are both action comedies that have really serious moments, and especially the newer Suicide Squad movie that James Gunn did has a lot of really heartfelt moments, but still a lot of funny stuff and a lot of action-packed stuff. So I think I think we're as long as we keep to that core of the characters coming together and those relationships feeling real, I think we'll be just fine.
Yeah, I feel like as long as the players are having fun, really, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
We picked that story because it's the kind of story everyone said they wanted to play, so.
Nothing to apologize for, Cleo.
Yeah.
You've been having fun. I've been enjoying it. I'm sure everyone else
Trevor's
has.
like, we're having fun and I don't care about the other two. That's fine.
You and I, we're getting along great.
Next week will be a tavern talk. We're going to do a little bit of player skill development. We're going to talk about our first session experience. We're going to make some predictions, and we're going to replace Jake, who obviously we're going to be ritually sacrificing.
I'm going to be in Michigan.
Going to be, where we do the ritual sacrifices in Michigan.
Yes.
So that'll be good. And then we'll be back after that with the next adventure. But until then, from all of us here at the Winged Badger Tavern, from the classified desk of the Gemstone Guardians, Trevor, what do we tell the people?
We tell the people GGs and GN.
We sure do. Good night, everybody.